questions. Oh, Michaela Flax. Let's go.
Does that take away our obligation to perform sacrifices?
Okay, so the question was, did Jesus Christ sacrifice on the cross, did that take away our obligation to offer sacrifices? Correct. Because he is now, when we actually get into the talk about why we do what we do at Mass, like there's an evening for that. But this is good because it's true. We don't offer sacrifices now because that has been satisfied by Jesus' sacrifice on the cross. And then Hebrews, the book of Hebrews is a really good book to read about kind of the understanding of the high priest as Jesus Christ. He's the high priest, so he's offering the sacrifice. He is the sacrifice. And so you see all this stuff that he is also the altar, and it's amazing the book of Hebrews gives us kind of our liturgical text. And we see that it's that once for all sacrifice. So that once for all sacrifice. And then what we do at Mass is that fulfillment of the once for all sacrifice. And we offer an unbloody sacrifice at the altar in memorial to, and we can get into what we mean by in remembrance and memorial later. But that once for all sacrifice, we start to now offer a living sacrifice. And we don't re-sacrifice Jesus. It's that we enter into the one sacrifice. In the Mass, we enter into the one sacrifice that happened at Calvary on Good Friday. And it connects to the Last Supper. Yes?
Okay. I understand it's kind of weird to talk about sacrifice and what that means for us, but the story that you were telling earlier, I guess my question is why would God have Abraham sacrifice his oldest son? Like, even if God wasn't going to let Isaac die, why would he, I guess almost ask him to...
Right, and so why would God ask Abraham to sacrifice his only son? Okay? And why would Abraham do it? Well, and it kind of goes back to to the explanation that there were other religious systems who were offering human sacrifices, and that was kind of the idea was, well, I guess God's asking for the same thing that all these other religions are asking for the first son, or to appease him, I've got to do this. And so also there was this understanding, and we get it in the book of Hebrews. I go back to that all the time. It offers a key. Hebrews says that Abraham understood that God was going to resurrect Isaac. And so, and that's not implied in our readings of when we read it, the story of Abraham and Isaac. We don't get that. So that's kind of the understanding, is that that actually Abraham has faith that God is going to resurrect Isaac, and so he is just going to trust that, and that's what he's going off of. Okay. Very well.
It's more of a comment than a question. So is this why when we meditate and we pray, we need to be certain that it is God speaking to us, because there's other forces out there.
Right. So she's talking about making sure, kind of a discernment of spirits, making sure that God is actually telling you, God won't tell you to sacrifice people. I mean, that should be kind of a big clue, like, I should not be killing people, because God wants us to love people. We know that based on the Bible. But there is something about being able to know whether or not something is from God. And we'll talk about prayer and kind of the discernment of spirits. St. Ignatius of Loyola, he was a saint in Spain, and he spent some time in exercise and meditation and really understood that that the devil is a cunning and very sly being, and it can come in and look like an angel of light because it was an angel of light who fell. And so he comes in and he can deceive you. And so you really need to be able to say, is this of God? And ask God, is this really you? And so, but we can get into that later when we talk about prayer. But thanks for that question. Questions. Oh man, was it that easy? Brooke, you're looking at me like you got a question. No? No. Darn. Well, that's fine. Yeah, well, no questions. Okay, good. Or maybe you don't trust me with answers. That's good. So that's good. You guys can actually have more time in discussion. I thought it was very powerful when Jeanette Binkovich, I don't know if any of you listen to Catholic radio. I think it's 105.3. You can get it. It's out of St. George here. But she's on quite often, and she's just, you listen to her in the morning, it's like, how does she have this energy in the morning? It's crazy. And sometimes it can get on my nerves sometimes because I'm just like, I just want to sleep. But I thought it was very powerful, though, when she talked about her son, the death of her son, because when she talked about that suffering, that wailing, I've had that same experience, actually, and I've debated whether or not to tell you, but 12 years ago, my sister passed away, and I had that same experience, being told that when my sister had passed away, that I just wailed, and I just didn't understand, and no tears came. It was just wailing, and the understanding that I can trust God where my sister is. And that's one of the things that I was kind of like, okay, great, I understand the suffering part, but I also know that God is working his plan in this. And so I trust that God has answers for this. And even 12 years ago, when she did pass away, 7 years ago, I had kind of an experience. I had to ask God, and I was like, God, how does this all pan out? Is my sister in heaven or not? And he gave me a beautiful kind of vision, or just kind of assurance for me, and it was something that it's indescribable, really, but it just really assured me that my sister is in good hands. And so I just ask you guys to pray for those who have gone before you, and trust that this is all God's. The gospel reading this Sunday was being able to give everything to God. Give God what is God's, and so do it. He now has, because of Jesus Christ's death on the cross, he now has the power over death. So that's my message. You have a question?
I also lost sisters, and that's this first sister that I lost. My mom dressed us up in white and black and made us fill out an application. of the first youth choir in our town. And that to me was like God letting us know that she's going to be the
Cool. So she had an experience as well of death in her family, and she was able to dress up and be in a youth choir, and it just reminded her that it was kind of this assurity that her sister's in heaven. So. All right, so I am going to go hear confessions in 15 minutes, so you guys can break into groups, and I highly recommend that you guys get up and go meet new people and ask these questions, and really just get into them. It's page 60, so 59, 60, and enjoy more treats and whatnot. So thank you.